This is a 20,000 mile reliability assessment on my 2023 Aprilia Tuareg 660 that I purchased in April of 2024 with a great discount. I will cover the issues that I've had, both warranty and otherwise, and let you know what I think about the reliability of this bike. Hey, how's it going? Welcome to my channel. If you've been following my channel at all, you know how much I love my Aprilia Tuareg 660. So at the 20,000 mile mark, I thought I would talk about the issues that I've had, both warranty and things that have came up, just to make sure that if you are considering this bike, you know what you may be getting, and then an overall assessment of the reliability of this bike. Now, I've made a lot of content on this bike, the Tuareg 660, and I continually get comments or receive comments from people that say that Aprilias, the Tuareg, these bikes are really unreliable. And my response to them is always, have you owned one? Do you own one? What has your experience been? And 9 times out of 10, for anyone that leaves a comment that these bikes are unreliable, I never hear back that they've actually owned one. Now, I have had a couple people leave me some notes on things to look at in older models, and I have done that, and I'll talk about that here in a bit. But what I get all the time is people that do own this bike is they absolutely love it. And I also get comments from people that have owned Aprilias for long term, and they absolutely love their bikes and they have had very few problems. Keeping that in mind, I wanted to cover my own experience on this bike. Now, your experience on a different bike may be completely different than mine. So what I'm really going to talk about is this bike. I've done a little bit of research to look into some of the other issues that I knew about when I was purchasing this bike that really didn't concern me. I figured and looked at it and decided that those things were maybe a small problem, but nothing that was going to leave me stranded. So I went ahead and made that purchase, which is where we're at today. For context and to help you understand how I got from 0 miles to 20,000, I want to give you the background of all the riding that I've done on this. I have ridden somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 plus Backcountry Discovery Route sections, to include a couple of the Continental Divide Trail sections across 9 different states. So that's a lot of road riding to get to those sections, to ride those, and then a lot of those sections, which is a mix of more challenging off-road or dirt road, forest road, however you want to look at it, to, you know, some of it's just hard pack cruising. But this bike has not just been a road bike just doing touring. I have taken it off road, I've taken it off pavement, I've hit a lot of different types of terrain. So really challenging what this bike can do, and I won't say abusing it. I don't ride terribly fast, but it's not been an easy 20,000 miles. It's been a rough 20,000 miles to get to this point. That should help you understand the type of riding that I've done on this bike and how it is held up under those conditions. The first issue I had with this bike, which was by far the most significant, was right after I purchased it. I started noticing a leak out of the countershaft seal. Now, I've done a couple of videos on that. I'll leave that in the description below. If I remember, I'll put a link up here to my experience. Now, I think that could have been resolved pretty easily by my local dealership, but there were some issues there I'm not going to get into in this video. However, it was an assembly error. There is this $2 washer that was missing from the countershaft sprocket that pushes the countershaft sprocket in and pulls the shaft out. So the shaft didn't properly seat into the seal, which caused leaking, which turned into a bigger headache than it needed to be. Anyway, that was an assembly issue. After that, I haven't had any other issues from that point up to the 19,000 or so miles, which I'll get into that next issue now. If you've done any research on this bike, or if you own this bike, you know that there is a problem with the fuel level sensor in the tank. The 2022s and the 2023s, and I don't know about the 2024s, but they are notorious for losing their fuel level sensor position And what happens is on the dash, your fuel gauge, it basically starts blinking. Now, I had felt very fortunate. I got to the 10,000 mile mark, no problems. Got to the 15,000 mile mark, no problems. And then I was riding section 5 of the Colorado BDR, and there were some really steep up and downs, and all of a sudden it started flashing, and it was incredibly hot. You know, who knows what contributed to it, but that is a known issue. And Aprilia is doing a really good job of replacing those sensors. Now, I will give a quick shout out to my local dealership. I'm not going to name them, but I went in around 11 o'clock and said, hey, I'm having the sensor issue. They said, can you get it in today? I brought it in around 1:30, and by 3 o'clock, they were calling me, telling me it was done. I think what I was really, really impressed with, and hopefully this is the case with all of the dealers out there, is that they already know Aprilia is going to approve that fix. So they didn't wait for Aprilia to come back and say, yeah, go ahead and do the warranty fix. They just did it. And on top of that, they kept one of the sensors on their shelf. Now, I can't say that every dealer is going to do that, but I was really, really pleased with how quickly they got that done. I expected to not have the bike for about a week while they were waiting for approval. I didn't have it for an hour and a half. So that was really awesome. It's all fixed. My understanding is the new sensor that they're putting in has no issues. They're not having to replace the new one. So happy, good to go. It is more of an aesthetics thing. It doesn't change the functionality of the bike. I typically watch how many miles I ride anyway. I don't rely on that gauge. It's just, you know, it's part of the bike, and I wanted it fixed under warranty. The next issue that you're going to see come up is the assembly of these front forks. It's not done by Aprilia. It's done by, I can't remember who makes these forks, but it's done by the fork manufacturer, and this is how Aprilia gets them. As far as I know, nothing has changed. They're continuing to build them the same way. I had plans to revalve and respring my forks. So even though I knew this was an issue going into it, I used them for a year, didn't have any issues. They continued to perform well. I know over time, the shim stack is going to break because it's not installed properly, but I had plans to redo the forks anyway. So for me, it wasn't a big deal. I'm down to 200 pounds now, but with all my gear, I'm still quite heavy compared to a lot of other people. And, you know, because I just blast through, ran through stuff, I don't have a lot of finesse. I need a suspension that's gonna hold up. And so I knew I was gonna respring, revalve. So as far as I'm concerned, I didn't care about the condition of the forks. I was going to use them the way they were. Now, if you have no plans of ever respringing or revalving your forks, maybe that's something to consider. But for most of us North Americans, we exceed the weight that these are designed for, which is about 175 pounds. I'm not sure, is it like 75 kilos or so. So to me, forks, revalving, respringing is almost mandatory on every bike you buy. So I don't really consider this to be an issue, but in case you didn't know and you haven't seen it, there is an assembly issue, and it's up to you whether that's a problem. I've gotten one, maybe two comments of riders that have broken spokes or had their spokes come loose on this tubeless wheel setup, and I haven't had that issue. I check my spokes. Every time I change a tire, I check my spokes. Whenever I am tightening my chain, I check my spokes. I haven't had any issues with spokes coming loose or bending or breaking. And with the cross-spoke wheels, I also had the same wheels on my BMW R1200 GS. I put 45,000 miles on that bike in those wheels and never had an issue with this tubeless setup. So I know there's some people that have concerns about these. I personally don't. I like the tubeless setup. I'm okay with it being cross-spoke. I think it makes it really easy compared to other setups where they're having to try to seal the rim, KTM. So, you know, maybe that is a problem for you. For me, it has not been a problem at all. Forgot to cover in the original filming was oil consumption on this engine. I get this question quite often, is how much oil my bike is using. And initially, when I first got the bike, I was checking the oil every 600 to 1,000 miles, and I wasn't seeing any oil consumption. And then I went to every 1,000 to 2,000 miles, still wasn't seeing any appreciable or discernible oil consumption. And then Now I'm like every 3,000 miles I might check it, and right before an oil change I'll see how much oil I've used. Now for me, let me see if I can reach this and you'll be able, maybe be able to see this, is that I've put some stripes in here, or painted the end of this white with some oil paint so that I could see where the oil was. It's much easier to discern. And as long as it's between the two marks, usually it's in the middle point, and it stays there throughout the 5,000 to 6,000 miles I go between oil changes. Well, I'm not really between 4,500 and 5,500. I don't really go all the way to 6,000, but I haven't experienced the oil consumption that some other people are. I am not really into checking it just by the milliliters that it's using, or the ounces that it's using. As long as it's within that the marks there, I consider it good and just keep riding. All right, let's talk about all the other problems that I have had with this bike. Yep, that's it. Just those few, that assembly issue that came up, the fuel level gauge and the forks. So for me, this bike has been incredibly reliable, and I have not hesitated taking it anywhere. I haven't had any other little things come up, and the riding experience has been amazing. I know that when you do the research, you're gonna see people complain about oil leaks on these bikes. I have looked through the engine. Every time I do an oil change, I check over everything. I have not seen any oil leaks on my bike. I know on the 2022s, they had some issues with the seals. They replaced the seals on the engine, and from that point forward, I don't think there has been the oil leaks that they had from the original model year that came out. I could be wrong on that, but at least my experience on this bike has not had any oil leaks. Now, I did receive a comment from somebody, boy, it's been a few months ago, saying that these bikes are unreliable, and specifically pointed to the connecting rod to the piston and how they were bending. I did a little bit of research on that. This 660 engine, when it was first put in the RS and the Tuono, they did have some issues with the connecting rod bending, and what was determined based on the research that I looked at was that they weren't properly hardened. Now, that engine, the 660 and the RS and the Tuono, is cranking out 100 horsepower, where this is only 80. So they detuned this, giving it some more torque, less horsepower. So I don't think this engine is being taxed as much as it is on those sport bikes. I have not heard of this issue coming up with this bike, this model. So I think Aprilia has gotten that sorted out. It was one comment that I've gotten out of probably 1,000+ comments that I've received regarding this bike, and different things that people have experienced with it, good and bad. So I don't consider that to be an issue, but it is something that you may see if you do some research on the RS 660 engine. My overall assessment of this bike after 20,000 miles is the reliability has been spot on, what you would expect. Just a couple of, an assembly issue that became a problem, but after that, everything has been great. The fuel sensor, I knew that was gonna be a problem, didn't care. When it did come up, got it fixed really quickly. I would have no problem taking this bike anywhere. Now, I know there are gonna be comments that there's not enough dealer network support, and my opinion on that is, if it's reliable, you don't need dealers everywhere. And if you need to get parts, most parts, I order parts online. I rarely ever go to the dealer to get parts. So unless it's something really, really major, you should be able to get the little things for your bike pretty easily. If you break plastics or fenders or things like that, I order that stuff online. I never go into the dealership. So to me, having a dealership network isn't that important. I can find ways of getting things done. And I also want to mention, look, I'm not traveling around the world. I don't have that kind of time. I'm doing, 3, 4, 5, 6 day trips right now. I don't have time to do anything longer than that. I did a 3-week trip on this bike last year. It was perfectly fine. So I really think that for me, the riding experience, and it is proving to be incredibly reliable. If you are looking for a middleweight bike that will provide you with an excellent riding experience, I really suggest that you get out and test ride this bike. It is amazing. Now, I have not ridden the KTM 890 Adventure. Everybody knows that those bikes are having a lot of problems. So if you're looking for an alternative that is nearly as good as that bike, I think this is a good way to go. That has been my reliability experience on this bike after 20,000 miles. Wouldn't hesitate to take it anywhere. If I had the time, I would go much longer distances. If you own one of these bikes, let everybody know what your experience has been in the comments below, any warranty issues you may have had, and any other things that maybe have came up with your bike that I haven't experienced. And what I really think is important, just let people know what your reliability experience has been. And on top of that, what your riding experience has been. For some reason, I see riders that seem to be reluctant to even go test ride these bikes. And I think you're starting to see a shift where people are really figuring out that this bike is amazing. You can see Ben from Dork in the Road. He just put out a video. He is looking to buy one of these. And then for any of you that watch Ian from Big Rock Moto, he had one of these bikes as his personal bike. He just didn't ride it enough, so he got rid of it. There's a reason for that. So I really highly encourage you to go out and try one of these bikes. So remember, you can always make more money, but you cannot make more time. So get out and do rides. Go to places like this that are incredibly cool in southern Utah. And don't put off doing that ride. Time is not gonna stop and wait for you. You have to go do it. Thanks for watching. Get out, do some riding, ride safe, and I will see you out there. Hey, how's it going? Welcome to my channel. I